What is up, YouTube? We are back today with another Forever Save video. In my last video, I went over my favorite gallery creators. I will link that video down below and in a card in this video. I had a few of you guys comment about MC command setter settings to help flourish your town and fill them up with great townies. And then I ran a poll. This is editing Sab, and I just went to take a screenshot of the poll and I realized that the two videos are neck and neck. But I promise you, when I decided to film this video, it was winning even if it was by a hair. So that'll be my next video. The gallery creators home edition will be my next video for what you guys wanted my next video to be, and this was the selected winner. I also want to note, if you're not a mod user, I do have a couple of tips that I will add to the end of the video, and per usual there will be timestamps down below, so if you feel the need to skip along through things that you already are aware of, then you can do so. Without further ado, let's get into it. So for this step, you are going to need a computer. So I went ahead and dropped in my Savvy Sim self. We gave ourselves a makeover. I have not remade myself in so long, so that was fun. We're going to go ahead and click in and get into a lot where there is a computer that we can use to access our MC Command Center settings. Now, I did just restart a brand new save just so that I can show you what it looks like when we populate through. So first and foremost, you're going to need a computer. We're going to click on that computer and we're going to go to MC Command Center. Once you've opened MC Command Center, you're going to scroll down to MC Population, and then we're going to go into the populating settings. So here you're going to see that there's baby, infant, toddler, child, adult, elder, male, etc. This list goes on, and you can go on as deep as you absolutely want, but because today's video is focusing on how we're going to generate good, beautiful, gallery saved and personally created Sims, we're not going to go into every single detail because that's not as important. But one thing I am going to know is the elder settings. So if you open this up, each category from infant all the way to elder has a certain percentage that MC Command Center auto populates, and they need that in the game. So for me, I went ahead and changed my elders to 10% because when you've got 33% elders populating into your game, the next thing you know, every single time you go to a festival, you be going to an old folks home, okay? Because there's nothing but old people around everywhere, and you can't find no hotties to date because they're all old. The other thing is that because these settings are going to auto generate the Sims that you create or save to your gallery, somebody that you maybe thought was a really attractive Sim could potentially populate into your game as an elder. I'll take Johnny Depp, for instance. I have a Johnny Depp saved in my library, and I obviously, if he populated into the game, then like, how you doing, son? Okay. But he populated as an elder. So that meant that there's no chance for him to repopulate in my game, which is a good thing. I will note as we further go through these settings that MC Command Center will not populate somebody with the same name. So if Johnny Depp populates into my game as an elder, Johnny Depp is not going to repopulate into my game as a young, handsome, thriving Sim self. Okay. So I have changed this to 10%. The other thing that I have done, which I will show you, is I have gone through and I've saved a ton of elders that I felt were attractive, whether I saved them, created myself, whatever. I have saved them here so that they will populate themselves and already have elders to choose from my library. If you do not have any elders saved to your library, or any age for that matter, it is going to auto populate somebody that you already have. So for instance, if you have hot base game guy saved to your library, all of a sudden you're going to see this elder that's walking around that's hot base game guy wearing hot base game guy's entire wardrobe, but 88 and about to crow. We don't want that to happen. So I went ahead and started to save more elders to my library that fit kind of my aesthetic. And the cool thing about that too is that if you come across one of these elders in your game and you really love them and you just think they're so great, whatever, MC Command Center has this cool trait where you can just go in here, scroll down to relationships, add a relationship. I'm going to click household because I did just add her to my household, and then I can actually make her, or I can make myself her daughter. And then next thing you know, you look at my family tree, and then it shows me as her daughter. Now, if you, for storytelling purposes, you can actually go here, go to MC Command Center. I'm going to quickly just delete that relationship that she has with me. And I'm going to show you that you can actually go here and go to add relationship, add it with me. And then you can do add family relationship bit. family bits, and then I can become her granddaughter. Now, the only difference with this is that it's not going to show on my family tree that I'm her granddaughter, but where it will show is if you go click here and then click on the player profile, it's going to show that she is my grandmother. So you're still going to get it on the profile. So if you want it for storytelling purposes, it's really fantastic. But obviously if you want it for the tree, then I could add her as my mother. But that's kind of what makes it nice when you have aesthetically pleasing genres of ages in your game. I don't want 33% of people being old people in my game. Okay, that's not how I play. I want them to be young, living and thriving. So if you click through, you'll also see that there's a certain number. So for me, I don't want any new babies in my game, so I'm gonna hit 0 on this. And you'll notice that because I did that, in this top hand corner over here, it's actually going to say that the game is gonna need to restart to take effect. Now, the reason why I'm going to do 0 for children and all of these things is because I don't personally want my townies to start randomly generating children. You don't have to do that. If you want them to have their own autonomous gameplay and etc., that's fine. But the way that I personally play, I like to go to the gallery, and Secura Leon is a very reputable gallery creator. I love her families, and so I will actually put a ton of her families into my game. I think they're all aesthetically pleasing. They usually have matching outfits. They're just really great. I just love them. 10 out of 10 recommend. So there is already plenty of townies in my forever save that have children and all of those things. I don't personally like my families in the game to start randomly having babies or adopt children or adopt cats or do any of those things. I like to kind of control that even when it comes to my townies, my NPCs, people that I don't plan on rotationally playing. That's just my own version of playing God in the game. I don't want random Sims in my game that I have not personally saved from the gallery. And when you allow for infants and children and things, they're going to turn out ugly. And if you're planning on playing this forever save for the rest of your life, then those children are going to grow up to be ugly adults. And then we're going to be here from scratch again. And you're going to have to literally go back through and go into cast and redevelop them and so on and so forth. So it's just not my personal taste. For you, you may be different. Leave it as is if you want. But I am going to go ahead and mark down all of the children, infants, and toddlers to 0 because I do not want extra kids in my game for 0 reason. Okay, so we're gonna mark these all down to 0, child 0. Now, for whatever reason, teen isn't an option, but that's fine. Now that we've kind of done all of those, you can do things like change your butler age, all of that kind of stuff. That's completely up to you. But what's important and what this video is really about is that import. These townies that import into our game automatically without our choice. We're gonna go into the import tray settings, and then we're going to go up here to this top section where it says import tray %. Now you'll see that I have mine to 100%. That means I don't want any surprises. Okay, I want 0 people that EA has created generating into my gallery. And my main reason for that is because the way that EA auto generates townies into your game, it's not from the gallery. Okay, it's not random people they select from a gallery. It's not randomly from their own personal creations in the gallery. Okay, it comes from your own folder of content that you have in Create a Sim. Meaning that if you're a CC person, then, and you maybe, like for myself, I am a Halloween fanatic, so I have a lot of like Halloween costumes and Halloween makeup and so on and so forth. I do not want a random townie generated from my CC because they might have Pennywise's face, they might have, you know, a goblin costume and then clown shoes on and be walking around in their everyday outfit. I just don't want that to happen. I also don't like that EA randomizes makeup. Now, I will link a mod down below that makes it so that none of your Sims that automatically come into the game, even the ones that you know, if you're ready to make a brand new Sim for a brand new household, automatically one that they kind of give you as a default is going to have no makeup. They're going to be just bare skin so that you can start from scratch. You don't have to go through and delete everything. I do have a mod that will automatically do that, so I will link it below. But when you're living and thriving off of EA creations, they just randomize all that. So, you know, you see that random townie walking around town, they've got green hair and they got butterfly face makeup on. It just ain't it, sis. Like, I don't like that. So for me, I changed mine to 100%. You can choose if you want to have a little surprise here and there. Maybe you change it to 98%. So that like one random Sim that EA EA auto generates is, you know, the person you can deem the crazy person in town. I don't know. For me, I like full control over my games, so it's going to be 100% for me. So once you say okay, that's perfect. The next thing that you're going to go down to, and this is just something that I suggest, is limit import by tags. Now, I have mine specifically to limit bypass tags because there's far less. In fact, I only have one family or one creation in my entire gallery of saves in my library that is a bypass, and that is Ghostface. Like, shout out if you just saw my recent short. If you follow me on TikTok, then I did a few extra that maybe YouTube doesn't love as much. We did some TikTok trends over on TikTok with our Ghostface, but I have him limited by bypass tags because I do not want Ghostface randomly populating into my game. Okay, I want to control when he's going around slashing, which, shout out, a little sneak peek, we might be doing a little Ghostface series for Halloween. Stay tuned. But I'm going to show you what that looks like. So I choose limit bypass tags. You can do only include tags. So if there are specific sims that you've saved to your library that you only want them to be generated, then you can do that as well. But just know, if you have your bypass, or if you have your tray settings at 100 and you're choosing only include tags and you've only included 5 families, then EA is going to push past that and auto generate people because they have to. You need either that, or no one's going to show up and run your food stalls. No one's going to show up and spray down your fire in the kitchen as a firefighter if that's what you need. Like, they're not going to have those automatic NPC roles if you don't have enough people. So I don't suggest doing the only include tags. The other reason for that is because if you, let me show you, let's go into, in fact, let's get right into there. Let me show you the difference between the bypass and so on. Okay, so this is my Ghostface sim. I have it as MCCC_bypass. That means that the game is not going to populate Ghostface into my game because we do not want Ghostface showing up, okay? But if you notice, these are the random townies I've saved from other people, right? So if I go to this one that's by Enchant Sims, I actually don't have a way of typing the MCC include. Now you'll see that over here on the right-hand side of the screen, other people have typed it in the comments. That's not how Mafia works, and that's not how MCC Command Center works. So if you do this, you will see just about every single attractive sim in the history of America in the gallery is going to have this underscore in the comments. Literally, that's not how it works. It's not going to populate them into your game. The only way that you're going to have access to this description, which is going to then give you access to write the hashtag, whether it's bypass or include, is by literally dropping this family into CAS and then resaving them so that you have now, you know, control over what goes into this description, which that is a lot of work. So I'm not saying it can't be done. My suggestion to you would either just disable it completely so that it has full control over your saved library, or you can do as I do, which is limit by bypass tags, which means it's got full control over my entire library. The only one that I know for sure is not going to auto populate in my game is Ghostface. So, and anybody else that I choose in the future, you know, there's been some creators that have, you know, had families from other Let's Play series, and maybe they don't want them populating automatically into their forever saves, so they might put them as a bypass tag, so on and so forth. That is basically going to be my suggestion for you, is to either just disable it or to use bypass tags. Now that you have that taken care of, we're going to go down to include clothing. We want to make sure that this is enabled. It says if enabled, when the sim being imported into the same gender and age group is imported by sim, the clothing from the imported sim will also be included. So that basically means that whatever clothing your sim was saved to your library with, that is going to be what it's included. So that is really great. That means that even though you might have Johnny Depp, who physically looks amazing, EA might be auto generating some clown shoes and hot dog costume on him if you have this disabled, okay? His features will come in, but the hot dog suit might also join him. So we want to make sure that we label this as enabled so that whatever you saved Johnny Depp or any of your gallery sims to, that is what they are going to import as. The next step here is going to be import sim name. So this is what is going to help your game not continue to populate the same person over and over. So I go ahead and say skip sim if the name exists. Now what I mean by this is that if Johnny Depp has then already auto-populated into my game, then he is not going to auto-populate again as, say, an elder or a young adult or whatever else. I'm not going to have 2 Johnny Depps in my game. The only way that this can happen is if I were to place, say I'm creating a new family and I place Johnny Depp into my new family, but say I change his name. Just say maybe I'm like, ooh, Johnny Depp, you looking fine, but I want to name him, you know, Bob Saget. Okay. So I have now changed Johnny Depp's name to Bob Saget, but I didn't change anything else about him. He's got the same wardrobe. We went ahead and kept his aesthetic, kept everything else the same. I just changed his name to Bob Saget because now I've got the Saget household up in my house. Okay. Up in my game. Now what's going to happen is EA is going to go, okay, I don't see a Johnny Depp in this game. So I'm going to go ahead and have him populate in. Now, if that happens, you're going to have two Johnny Depps in your game. Even if one of them's name is Bob Saget, they're both going to look exactly the same. They're going to have the exact same wardrobe, so on and so forth. So what I recommend, option number one, delete the original Johnny Depp. Option number two, save him under the name that you changed him to. So in this instant, I would change the original Johnny Depp's name to Bob Saget. Or option number three, include the hashtag MCC_bypass so that the game ignores him and doesn't bring him in. So whatever option is going to be best for you, that is your choice. For me and the way that I play, if I ever am in a situation where I am taking a sim from the gallery and putting them into a new household, I will just delete the other one because let's be honest, I don't want the other one. This is my forever save. I don't want them randomly populating when I have now invested in playing a household that's going to have that current sim in my household. That's just a little note there. Skip sim if the name already exists. The last thing in this little import tray settings is going to be the import bypass appearance. So this is different from clothing. So we already did the clothing. We want to make sure that the original clothing that we saved the sim to is in the game. This is going to be the appearance. So I'm going to use Johnny Depp as an example again. If Johnny Depp comes into my name and he's got his cute little goatee going on, this sim, if I have this disabled, then they could auto generate Johnny Depp into my game, but then he might have a beard and he might have weird eyebrows and he might have freckles and he might have moles in weird places. Whatever comes as part of the appearance of your sim, that means hair, skin details, etc. It even could be weight. Maybe they make him super scrawny. Maybe they make him super bulky. They're going to change whatever they can. They will just kind of randomize it. He will still be in the same wardrobe and he will still look-ish like him, I guess. Not really. It's going to change his appearance. It defeats the purpose of this entire thing. So I suggest choosing enable so that the way that you save them is the way that they look. We've done that with the clothing. Now we're doing that with the appearance, and it's all going to come together in the end when we get them auto imported into our game. They're going to look exactly like we saved them into our library. Now, something else I like to change in my game, this is just going to, you know, this isn't necessarily about cute townies, but I just want to share the settings. So if you go to MC population and we go to other settings, this maximum sims in zone, this is 20, but if you've noticed when you've watched other people play that they like have an area that's poppin', I like to change this to 50. Now, there's not ever going to be 50 people in a zone, but you know, when you decide to randomly go to the bar at like 2 a.m. and there's always like one sim there, and then next thing you know, there's only like 2 or 3, but you want more to be there, you can kind of fluctuate this to be your own situation. I change it to 50 personally. It says the EA default is 20, but I find that there's never really 20, there's usually 5. So 50 is kind of a sweet spot for me. That is why when you've seen in my Let's Plays, whenever we go do something, it's always pretty populated. Now, keep in mind your computer settings and so on. Like if your game starts to get super laggy when there's a lot going on, then maybe you want to even lower it from the original 20. But this is just a way that I like to, you know, get things going. So I'm going to hit OK. We're going to pause here. I'm going to restart my game just so that we can auto populate, you know, our changes that we made. And then we're going to get in, we're going to go to a community lot. We're going to let some people auto spawn. The other thing that I did do is I went through my other households and I've already deleted, you know, like the goths, the land grabs, everybody in here just for this kind of a purpose of showing you how it's going to auto populate some of my townies. So you need to do that as well. Any of the townies that you don't like or that you think are ugly or that you don't want to play with or you don't want to remodel, but the ones that you don't want to give makeovers to, go through and just delete all of them manually. You may have heard of an MC Command Center way to delete them, but I don't suggest doing that because I have had it actually delete my played households as well. Even though it says it only will delete unplayed households, I just don't suggest it. So I would say go through the time and just delete every single one of them yourself. yourself that you don't want in your game, keep the ones that you do want in your game, and then we'll go from there. We're gonna go to the Thrifty Boba store. Okay, let's see what we got going on here. So we've got this really cute sim who's working on her the boba shop here. And then we've got this sim over here who's relatively pretty cute too. Aubrey Brunson, lovely. Okay, I don't know about this shirt, but you know, it's all right. It's all gonna depend on what you have saved in your gallery. Now, the nice thing is we can go, I'm gonna give it a second just to populate a few more townies, and then we're gonna go look at our households. We're going to manage our households and kind of see who these people are and what they've come from. Oh, we got another one here. Nancy land grab. So this is one of the land grabs that I actually remade over myself. So she's pretty cute. Like what she's rocking. Look at this little handsome hunk here. Not him being a teen. The beard, he looks like a 40-year-old man. Now, again, this is going to be a little wild because this is a blank save. And so I don't have any other families or anything to populate. I haven't actually had this issue where I've had a teen generate into my game. Teens are the one things you can't control, as I showed you earlier in the tray settings. For whatever reason, that one's just not available. But because I play with a lot of households and I have a lot of teens in my game, I've never had a teen generate looking like a 40-year-old man. Cute girl. Okay, Ivy Davis, very cute. Okay, now that we've got a few, let's go to manage our world so that we can take a peek at our households and see what exactly we've generated. As you can see, for the most part, now again, I learned about these settings after I saved some people. So like for instance, this dude, sexy hot man, hot boy, no CC. This is somebody that I'll probably delete from my library. And I have had to still go through and delete some people or go through and edit them because unfortunately I do have some randos in there that I just saved in the past. But as you can see, for the most part, these are all really attractive families. Okay, I love it. It's giving cute, it's giving aesthetic, it's giving no one's really wearing weird clothes. I mean, I think there was the one townie, which for whatever reason, I don't even see that she's, oh, it was this girl here. She was showing up as kind of random. And even though I did say 0% kids, it looks like we still had a kid kind of sneak in here, another kid sneak in here. Now, the thing that I will say is that if you don't have enough families in your save, then they're going to take a bunch of people from random families. Like I know this family, this is a Secure Leon family. He is part of that family. I actually am playing with that family in my main save. They have combined. So like this is Nancy Landgrab. This is a kid from a completely different family. And this is another random sim that I think is just a solo sim. Now this is my forever save. And as I mentioned, my other one got corrupt. So I've only been working on this one for about a week or so, but this is what my households look like here. So I have my households. These are all the people I'm playing. And so as you can see, I do have a variety, mainly just teens. I really only have one or two families that actually have a child. And then over here, I have, you know, I did my makeovers, whatever. One of the things that I did immediately just to stop from like random, you know, generations of just pulling people from my library, I went to Secure Leon and I downloaded a bunch of different townies so that I could just have some random people that I wouldn't be emotionally tied to that would fill my lobby up and would create enough space so that they weren't auto generating. And as you can see, as we scroll down, I even added a few families in with some kids. And because I added some kids in and my settings are set to 0, you can see that no other children have populated in my actual forever save. So this is not perfect. This is just a much better way to manage your townies so they're not super random. There's still going to be some similarities. Like these are two completely different sims, but obviously they're wearing a very similar shirt, could kind of be looking similar. They could even be brothers. Maybe you bump into them in your save and you decide to make them brothers. Who knows? But for the most part, every single one of my sims is pretty attractive. They're not wearing anything random. And these are the ones that have been generated outside of the townies that I just auto put in. And then the couple of main townies like the goths, the land grabs that I decided to redo. I've got the high school principal in here and so on and so forth. So it'll eventually play itself out. You just kind of have to let it work its magic after you've removed all of these settings. Now, as I promised, I mentioned that I was going to share a tip for those of you guys that don't want to use any mods in your game. And this is basically my tip. My tip is to to go to Secure Leon or some of the other creators that make Townies. I shared them in my last video, and download a ton of these to your game. If you download a ton of these to your game, then it's going to leave less room for EA to generate auto Townies. They're not going to have much of a reason to. So you might at this point get, you know, 9 or 10 random ones, but hopefully they're not too bad. Outside of that, I don't know of any other options besides, of course, you can manage your neighborhood settings. So for me, I like a good story, so I leave mostly everything in here. But again, as I mentioned, I don't want them having random children. I don't want them adopting random children, and I don't want them rescuing horses or adopting cats or dogs. Like, I just don't think that that needs to happen. They just get carried away. It'd be different if like one family randomly adopted a cat, but then it's like the next thing you know, you've got a single sim and they've got 17 cats in their house, and it's like, what the hell is going on around here? So that's basically my advice to you, is if you are somebody who doesn't want to play with mods, then generate your other households with a lot of these Townies that you find attractive and appealing, and they will at least take up a majority of your extra Townies in your world, so you're not having to feel like you got to go in and edit them all the time, and so on and so forth. I hope you guys found this video useful. I know it was a little bit long, and I know it was a little bit all over the place, but I just had so much I wanted to share, and I wanted to kind of give you guys examples of what specifically I was talking about, especially because some of you commented that you've tried to follow the MC Command Center before and it just didn't make sense. So I felt like showing you versus just telling you was maybe going to make things a little bit different. As I mentioned before, I will leave the links to the other mods, like the ones that make it so that you don't have any makeup on and so on below. I will be working on my favorite house creators from the gallery for my next video, but until then, I hope you guys have an awesome weekend. If you guys like videos like this, make sure you give it a like. It really helps me out, especially as a new creator, and I will see you guys in the next one.